Did Google and Yahoo just kill email marketing? Google and Yahoo recently released a new update on sender requirements for 2024. The changes come into effect in February of 2024 and are crucial if you want to make sure you don't end up in the spam folder. This will kill your email marketing and kill your deliverability if you don't follow these guidelines, so make sure you check each one of these and follow each one of them for your business. So there's 6 main things to highlight here. The first couple are relatively basic, and 3 to 6 are a little bit more advanced and things you might not already be doing. Number 1, remove Gmail from your friendly from address. If you're using a @Gmail or @Yahoo in your from address in the emails that you're sending, this needs to be changed to a domain that you actually own. In order to meet this requirement, you need an email address coming from a domain that you own. So if you don't have one, that's the first step. You need to go ahead and buy a domain. Again, very basic step, and a lot of you are probably doing this. Number 2, set up a branded sending domain. So a branded sending domain or a dedicated sending domain is basically a domain that you own, and it gives you better control over your sending reputation. This is actually a good thing. As an example, here's how you set it up in Klaviyo. Okay, so the first thing you have to do here is navigate to settings, navigate to email, and then navigate to domains, and then you need to click on branded sending domain. Click add here. What it's then going to do is it's going to populate your root domain here. This is the root domain for this account. And then what you want to do is just set up a sending domain. So this is the subdomain that's going to be used for sending your emails through Klaviyo. Essentially, this could just be send. This is kind of the basic one. You can just leave this. You could say send or something else. It's kind of irrelevant, but send is just a pretty standard one here. Now you can either select dynamic here or static in terms of routing. Now Klaviyo typically just recommends this. You can see it there. So I'm going to go ahead and just do that and click next here. Okay, so the next thing you're going to want to look at here is adding the DNS records. So you need to select your DNS provider, and that's basically just where you purchased your domain from and where your DNS records are held. For this account, it's actually on Namecheap. So I'm going to select that. And this is going to vary depending on what DNS provider you have. It's going to redirect you to the right one. So it's then going to tell me sign into my Namecheap account and then select the domain list and click manage. And basically you just need to get to the DNS settings here. So I'm going to show you how to do that on Namecheap here. You basically go in here, you go to advanced DNS, and then here you're going to be able to add new records. So what you will see is some providers may or may not have the NS record. This does so, and that's important for the next step here. So if you look at the next step, you click next, and now it's going to ask you to add these record types in. So you got 4 NS records and then a TXT record, and it's all going to be send. So I'm going to go ahead and add this in, and I'll just speed it up for the sake of this video. Okay, so this is what it looks like when it's been completed. You then want to go in here and click check on each one of these, and then you go back to the Klaviyo dashboard, and then you can click verify records. Now this might take a little bit of time. It could take up to 48 hours. It gives you that flag here too, but I'm going to click verify records and see if this works properly. It might take a little bit. I'm going to click save here, go back, see if it works now. Yeah, it might just take a little bit of time, right? It's not verifying them right now, but again, this can take up to 48 hours, giving you that kind of flag here too. So that's effectively how you set that up there. Now, if you're new to Klaviyo, and this goes for any sort of email service provider, if you're new to the platform, you do need to make sure you're warming up your new platform. So you don't want to start blasting everyone on your list. That's not best practice anyways. You want to make sure you're segmenting, but make sure you're sending to the most engaged segment of your list when you're initially starting this up. Now, setting this up through Klaviyo or whatever ESP you're using should automatically authenticate your SPF and DKIM records. Now, if it doesn't do that, you need to go and make sure that your SPF and DKIM records are actually working properly. So I'll show you how to do that as well. So I use this tool called MX Toolbox, mxtoolbox.com, and then you just need to go to plug in here. This is a free tool, by the way, ulubags.com, and then I'm going to click on check domain health, and it is telling me it's no good. So this is just because it hasn't been set up and it's not propagated properly yet. And the next piece actually is setting up that DMARC. Also really, really important to do. That'll actually be our next step in this process. Now, this is what it should look like when things are working properly. You may get some error messages like this. None of these are actually really anything to be worried about. But if you get something in red, like the previous screen, like if you get like DMARC not set up or, DKIM or MX not set up properly, make sure you take a look at that and see why that might be. Now, certain providers, for example, if you're sending through a certain provider or something like that, it may flag it and it may actually be okay depending on where you purchased the domain from. For example, we have some domains on Squarespace and it gives us an error with the SPF record. You might need to check with your DNS provider just to make sure that error is actually okay. So as I mentioned, the next piece here is make sure you're Demar compliant, and that's the next part of this process. So that's number 3. So number 3 is like you may or may not have Demar, and you can actually tell using this tool as well. If you get that Demar flag, if it's showing up in red, that is an issue. Now, if you don't have Demar, easy way to set that up is going to Demartian. Love that name, by the way. You enter your domain in here. So I'm going to do it the same brand, Ulu Bags, start creating. It's going to ask you a couple of questions. So what type of DMARC policy do you want? Nothing yet, just collect data. You can change this if you want to be a little bit more technical, but we just kind of leave it as is. Name would be, hello@ulubags.com. That's kind of irrelevant. Do you want to receive individual fail reports? No. Relaxed or strict? Relaxed. Again, this depends on your own personal preferences here. Do you want a different policy for subdomains? No, just keep it simple. And then what percentage of emails do you want to apply this to? 100% of them. Click create record. Okay, so what it's going to do now is it's actually going to spit out that DMARC record for you, and then you need to go back to your DNS provider. But what you really want to make sure is you have your DKIM and your SPF set up 48 hours prior to adding your DMARC record. Otherwise, there could be some issues with overall kind of like authentication practices. So make sure DKIM is set up, make sure SPF is set up, and make sure that's working properly. And that's been set up for at least 48 hours prior to adding this. Now, once you've done that, then you can go ahead and add this record in. So you want to go to advanced DNS again, it's a record type of TXT. So I'm going to go in here and say, this is TXT record, host is that, value, I'm going to copy this and paste that in here. And then you can click the plus button or whatever the equivalent is on your DNS provider. Now, this is really, really important. Don't do this before 48 hours. Otherwise, you're going to have to just remove that and make sure it's properly set up. Once that is done, you can use the same tool. So if you go back into here and you go to domain audit, you can then check your domain in here as well. So bags, it's going to show up and it's going to give me an error because the DMARC is not set up yet, right? So it's saying SPF is now set up. Cool. DKIM, this is something to check. It's saying this is not set up right now. And then DMARC is the other one that we have not set up. So this is not really a surprise here. Now, what it should look like is if you go to ascend.media, for example, check domain, what it's going to say is SPF records are good, DKIM records are good. This is just saying DMARC, your domain has a valid DMARC record and it's set to P quarantines. It's basically just saying hey, the policy could be more secure. We just have it set up this way. So if you want, you can change that and you can change that policy. But if your test looks something like this, you are good to go. Okay, so number 4 is align your from address with your branded domain. So pretty simple here, just make sure the domain that you're sending from is linked to your main root domain. Number 5, make it easy to unsubscribe. Now, you probably have an unsubscribe link already in your email, and typically it's located in the footer, but this is really important. Make it very easy to unsubscribe. What Klaviyo is actually doing as well is adding a button at the very top right beside your sender name where people will be able to unsubscribe within a Gmail account or Yahoo account. Beyond that, it's also legally required in Canada, the United States. And number 6, keep spam rates low. You'll be required to keep spam rates below Google and Yahoo's threshold, which is below 0.3% marked as spam. Now, this is really important, and this is best practice anyways. Don't send people shit that they're not interested in, but this is where segmentation is going to be so important. The people who have been batching and blasting everyone on their list are going to get penalized for this. People do not care about every single thing you send. You need to make sure you're segmenting and make sure you are sending people content that they're actually interested in. Now, if you want to learn a little bit more about segmentation and list cleaning, I've got another video. I'll link that below as well. It's super, super, super important, especially moving into 2024. So did Google and Yahoo kill email? No. Will it kill email if you don't follow these certain steps? Absolutely. So I hope you got some value out of this video. If you did, I'd really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe. It does help out a lot. And I'd invite you to apply below if you've got a D2C brand doing at least $50,000 a month in revenue and you are interested in scaling email in 2024. We've got a few more spots in Jan and Feb that we're looking to fill up and looking to help some brands grow essentially in 2024. So if you're interested, click the link below. If not, see you soon.